So here's the lathe leveling feet that I just machined for the Precision Matthews 1660 lathe. Just some 4.5-inch hydraulic rod stock that was scrapped, cut off. We faced it, chamfer on both sides, make it look kind of nice. And then we used a 5/8 ball nose end mill to just put a nice radius in the center. This is what the leveling screws look like on the lathe right there. These are 16 millimeter, and I just put a radius on the end there. So just hit it with the ball nose, and then that'll keep it centered, and that'll be the point where it's contacting there to do the leveling. I'll probably put a dab of Never Sees down in there whenever we go to install them to get them leveled out. All right, we made it back down here to the shop, getting ready to start leveling this thing out. First thing I'm going to start with, these are all the leveling screws right here, or leveling bolts in the lock nuts. And you saw me, we created our little round divots there. I want to put a drop of Never Sees. We're going to use this right here, this Never Sees from CRC. I'm also going to put a little bit on the threads too, just to, I don't know, give me a little peace of mind that we're not going to have any kind of oxidation in the future forming it down in the cast around the bolts there. Let's see if I can do this without making a huge mess and getting it all over me, because I know that would be the proper way to use this, but I'm going to try to do it my way. So I just want just a little dab if I can do that. I think that's probably going to work right there. Just trying to get it a little more even inside that divot there. Same thing on the bolts. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put about that much right there. I got a paper towel here I'm going to lay these on. I love the height of the toolbox here. This is the first time I'm actually getting to use it for something here, and it's making a nice work table. Okay. All right, let's start getting these guys slid into place. Let's see how it's going to do. Yep. I think it's going to work out pretty good. One thing I was going to tell you is that I love my knee board here. This was given to me by Kevin Pangle, you know, a viewer of mine, a friend. This thing, it's just so valuable. But I wanted to point out, I've got another one here. This is a foam pad that I bought at, I want to say it was Moultrie. Any of those big swap meets you go to, like Moultrie or Flywheelers, there's usually one or two vendors that have this foam and they already have it cut out, made into knee pads. And I would say pick up a couple if you see them, because I feel they're worth it. I've got 2 of these, and it seems like that I never have it around when I need it. So when I go back to Flywheelers, I'm going to pick up a few more, just so, because I brought these from the shop, the other shop, and now I need some there. So anyway, I just thought I would point that out. I'm going to go ahead and get all of the leveling bolts put back in. And what I thought I would do is just go ahead, since the machine is just higher than the pad now, I'll go ahead and just slide the leveling pads underneath there, and we'll just go ahead and get them centered right where they're at now, and then use the toe jack to pick it up and get the boards out and just set them right down on the pads. Well, if I can get it started, there we go. So these drilled holes here are made for mounting it down once you actually have it level. Ideally, you set these machines down on a foundation that already has your anchors in the concrete, or even you know, an anchor down inside there that you can put a bolt or something in to pull it down. I don't plan on doing that. I'm just going to set it down on the pads here. All right, and then one other thing I'm going to do before we get started here. Okay. I'm going to take I've already swept it. I'm going to go get my little blower and just blow right here to get rid of, see, like there's some more coming out of that tapped hole there. I'm just going to go ahead and blow and get rid of any of the dust and dirt that's right there where these pads are going to sit. go. There we go. All right, we'll keep repeating this to the other side there. All right, there's the 4 for the headstock side. Let's go down to the tailstock and get those 2 in. Trying to get the pretty side out. There's a few stains on that OD that I didn't polish. All right, that's all 6. We'll go get our toe jack. That way we can pick it up and get it off of the timbers now. Our leveling feet look great. I like the height of it too. This is going to be I think a near perfect position to operate this machine at. All right, so we'll go ahead, and I've got all my levels here ready to go. So we're going to start. We'll use the Lathe 58, and then maybe even this little the little 4-inch number 98. We're going to use these to kind of get it rough leveled, okay? And then once we get it rough leveled, which is going to be extremely close using this, we'll move on to our stair at number 199 master level to finish out the leveling. All right, we're going to start off with our Lathe, and if you look in the manual that comes with this lathe, they actually show you leveling it using this spot right here. This is the top of your cross slide. So we've got it clean. They actually show to it using 2 levels. They've got one going across and then lengthways. So we're going to start off with our Lathe, wiping the bottom, make sure there's no chips underneath it. And we'll just kind of visually line it up along the bedway there. Okay, and we're definitely off. So we're low on the tailstock side, and really not that much. So, all right, one of the things that you want to consider when you're leveling your lathe, especially if you're using a lathe with flood coolant, which is what we're going to be using here. We got flood coolant on this machine. Ideally, you actually want the tailstock end to be slightly lower than the headstock side. And the reason being is that when you're using the flood coolant, you want the flood coolant to drain away from the headstock side. So the way they have the casting made is that it flows off the end of the ways and then falls down into the chip pan, which goes to the sump. So we're gonna have ours slightly off. How much I don't know how much we're gonna do yet, but maybe, you know, a line maybe. So we're gonna go ahead and make our adjustment. So what I'll do, I'm actually gonna drop the headstock down a little bit. We're gonna drop the headstock, and just using this level here, we'll get it off one line. I'm going to go ahead and grab my little 4-inch here, and we're going to put it right here in the middle. I want to see what it's like going side to side. It's off a little bit, not much, so it's low on the back side. So we'll just get it started. We'll get it roughed in right here, and let's get going on it. All right, I'm going to reach down here, and I'm going to go ahead and start lowering that. That was about a 1/4 turn. That's probably going to be right about where we want it, right there. Check the back side and see what it's doing here. So it's about one line. Let me go just another light bump here on this front side. See what that does. So it's about a line. And you can see this one starting to move quite a bit there too. So need to drop that back side a little bit, don't we? Let's go a little more on that back side, get that a little closer. All right, that's looking better right there. I've kind of got the downward slope the way I want already, so I'm going to move the 4-inch. We're going to move the Lufkin over here to this side. And let's see what we're looking like. Try not to lean on the machine like I just did. So it's still a little bit high on that back side. Let me see if I can make another adjustment on this back side here. And I know I could use the GoPro app and see this when I'm doing it, but I think the Wi-Fi interferes with the camera and the mic. That's one reason why I never use it. And I'm by myself. Abby's busy today, so I'm just doing this myself, you know. We'll get her done. Ugh. Just make a little adjust. Okay, yeah, I think we're pretty good right about there. All right. It's actually a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, setting it down on those blocks. I wasn't sure how even the concrete was. Before we go any further here, let's go ahead and move to the back end and start checking end to end to see how we are, because ultimately what we're doing is we're making sure that the bedways are perfectly straight and parallel with each other. You don't want any twisting one way or the other like that. That's where you're going to get your error whenever you're making your turns. So we've got our lathe rough leveled. Now we're ready to do our precision level. Here's the book. I want to show you what the book says for leveling. It's actually just kind of vague. This picture right here is what I was referencing. Now they're using 2 precision levels, and a lot of lathe manufacturers actually call for you to level using the top of the carriage or the top of the cross slide to do that. So everything's been precision ground on the machine so that you can use this surface for reference, especially with it being brand new. Usually once a lathe has some age on it, these surfaces just get dinged up from people setting stuff on it. So you got to make sure that they're clean if you do that. But that's the front of that chapter right there. So it's talking about the importance of leveling it using the screws, and then just that little section right there. So this is what we're going to do, but I'm going to show you another way that I like to use to level out the ways. Now I have a pair of precision Toolmakers 1, 2, 3 blocks that are match paired on all sides. Unfortunately, I left those with my buddy Lance down in High Springs, so he's using those right now. And I forgot that I had left them down there, but he's using them. So I've got 2 pairs of regular old 1, 2, 3 blocks. Then I have gone over, these are my precision flat stones that Lance made for me. And I've just made sure that there are no burrs on these 1, 2, 3 blocks anywhere. I have also, we're going to use the 2-inch height of these 1, 2, 3 blocks, and I have taken my mic and I have measured them and compared all of them, and they are all within 1/10 of being to the same size. And as far as I can tell, they're all parallel as well. So what I'm getting at is that we're going to be using these so I can show you, so that you can see how you can level your lathe. They're all within 1/10 of each other, so these are good 1, 2, 3 blocks right there. But what you do is, after you know that these are nice and even, they need to be a match set, you make sure you clean your flat way, and you put those on there like that, and you set your level right on top of there. So you're bridging the V-ways, okay, or one of the V-ways anyway. The V-way is going to be in here. So that's how you do. So you'd set one you can move this. That's generally how to do it. But if you had two pair, you put one pair of this up on the headstock side right by the chuck, and you put one all the way at the back, right over the leveling feet at the tailstock side. And then you use this to make your adjustments right there. So we're gonna start with doing it the way the book shows in here, using the top of the carriage there, the cross slide, using our stair at 199. And then once we feel that it should be level, I'm gonna check it and compare it against doing it with the 1, 2, 3 blocks on the ways. And that also will show some of you guys that are learning this stuff too, how you can use this technique to help level in your machine. We'll start by having the carriage about in the middle of the bed right there. And then once we get it level here, that's when we're gonna move the carriage to the headstock side and down here to the tailstock side and make our adjustments accordingly to get this thing perfectly level. All right, so we got our 199 precision level up here, and take note of where the bubble's at, and remember, 1/2 thousandths per foot, okay? And our level is 1 foot long. So I'm seeing the camera's right in the way. Let me get back here. 1, 2, 3. So it looks like that might be right on the border of 4 lines. So we're tilted down toward the tailstock side approximately 2 thousandths, okay? I think that's right in line of where we need it, so to give a little bit of runoff of our coolant. So I'm gonna leave it just like that. So let's focus on the side to side. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure that nothing is settled on here. We're gonna go ahead and move our level this way, okay? And I'm gonna just try to get it squared up. You want to make sure it stays square now. I'm gonna square it up with the side of the top slide here, or the compound, I mean. And let's see where we're at. Boy, that's real close. So we're off. It looks like I'm gonna call that 1 division. So this side, the working side of the machine is slightly lower. So I'm gonna just leave the camera going. You guys watch that bubble. I'm gonna make a slight adjustment. I'm gonna raise the working side up. I mean, just barely. Let's see what it does. Yep, I just barely moved that screw. And now it is, looks like it's pretty well centered right there. This is coming together so much faster than I thought it was going to. I've had problems leveling machines before. It take me a couple hours to get it because I'm chasing my tail. But this is working really good. What I want to do is we're going to run our carriage all the way forward towards the chuck, and we're going to work on that side. Then we're going to move it down here as far as we can go, and then we'll check this side. We want to make sure that we have no twist in the bedways. That's the most important thing, is that they're completely parallel in both axes. All right, that bubble should have settled out by now. I think we're slightly high on the back side. Yeah, it's a little bit that direction over there. So I'm gonna make another slight adjustment to the front leveling screw here. And I mean just barely. Definitely made it move, didn't it? That's almost so sensitive that it's hard to actually get it to move. I've been letting that thing settle. I feel we're about as close as I can get it on this side right there. So let's move down to the tailstock side, and I've got you mounted on the tailstock. So I'm gonna slide you all the way to the back here, and then I'm gonna bring the carriage down there so that you can see. All right, that's all the way back right there. So I'm gonna get on this side. What are we looking like right there? All right, so the back side, so we do have a twist. That's what we're seeing there. We're 1 division off. It looks like we're about 1 division, or maybe a 1/2 a division. So same thing, I need to give a little upwards motion on the front side right here. It does not take much at all. I can tell that thing continues to move. You need to give it, a minute to settle out. So I'm gonna give that a minute and see where it lands. I've given that a good solid minute to settle, and I can tell that it's slightly heavier on the front side here, but it's so minute that any movement that I give that screw is going to make that move the opposite direction more than I want. So I'm going to leave it right where it's at, because that's literally splitting hairs right there. But that shows you how fine this adjustment is using this 199 level. But we're going to go ahead. We need to go back to the headstock and check that side again as well. Make sure that we haven't thrown it out. You got to keep going back and forth and checking it till you're absolutely sure that it's level. I believe we're level, guys. It's about as level. Matter of fact, I think the difference on the division is about equal to what it is on the back side. I'm going to call that level. I feel comfortable with where it's at. We've got our slight, a couple of thousandths downslope on the tailstock side for our coolant drainage. I think we're going to be good right where we're at. So the 4 bolts that I've been adjusting are, you got these 2 right here in line. I have not touched those. And of course we got the ones on the tailstock side. So next step is to go ahead. We want to make sure that these are, see, they're loose. I want to make sure that those are just snug. And then we're going to go ahead and lock everything down with our lock nuts there. So our lathe, I'm calling it level. I have gone to each end, the headstock end, tailstock end, a couple more times since that last clip. And I feel that I've got it as close as I can get it using the 199. And it's, even if you try to, if that is off to one side just barely, and you try to make an adjustment on that bolt there, most likely you're going to throw it off further than you want to, and then you're to that point where you're chasing your tail back and forth. But I comfortably have it about as centered as I think I can get it using the 199 there on both the headstock end, tailstock end. So it's good. I'm going to go ahead and get down here and make sure that we have all of the lock nuts, the jam nuts locked in there. And I wanted to show you this. So if you've got an older machine to where you don't have a good reference surface here on your cross slide, or even the wings of the carriage right here, because you can level it using this too. Actually, that's how in the pacemaker manual, it shows using what they call the wings of the carriage right here, okay? But if you don't have a good way to level like that, this is where I'm talking about. You gotta have a good matched pair of blocks. And I'm not gonna tell you to go and use 1, 2, 3 blocks, because I'm just showing you for reference. You can put these blocks, a matched pair, on the flat ways, and then set your level here, and do that. Have a pair here, and then set it on the tailstock side as well. And you can use these to get your machine leveled in. But I am not going to be using these flat ways for reference on level. We're going to use the V-ways and the carriage, just like we showed right there, and just like they recommend in the book. So this guy is now leveled. All right, guys, our new lathe is perfectly level. We've got all of the jam nuts on the leveling screws locked down and tight, so that's good to go. And the next phase of the new lathe here is going to be cleaning, really. We still got all the rust inhibitor that they painted on all the handles. That all needs to be wiped off, cleaned off real good, all over the chuck. It's all over these controls here. And then there's actually like a layer of oil and everything. I want to get everything wiped down and get it kind of oil free, get it clean. You've got the plastic over these panels right here that need to be peeled off, that just protect that, So I need just some busy stuff that I need to do to get it all cleaned up and ready to go. The electricians will be here tomorrow to get the circuit run over here. Hopefully tomorrow we're going to have power and get it hooked in. So the next phase of the new lathe here is going to be showing you it run for the first time. And there is a break-in procedure that I want to do. We'll get it, we'll go through our break-in, and then we need to do an oil change on it as well. So I still need to go get the oil for that. So I think all that's going to be in the second part of the install here for the new lathe. And I'm looking forward to it, really excited about it. Real happy to have this new machine here in the shop, and I'm I'm looking forward to actually using it, see how it does, see how accurate it cuts, see how rigid it is, and what kind of machine we actually have on our hands here, since I've never run one like this. So hopefully you've been enjoying it so far, and we'll be back to share the rest of this install, okay?